Let's talk about one thing today, how JD Vance is a lying bastard and a fear-mongering fool. Clear. Okay. So, no, this has been widely reported by AP, Roll Call, Scientific American, yada, yada, yada. What happened on March 26, 2026 in a White House cabinet meeting is JD Vance claimed a scenario that an Iranian agent could walk into a Piggly Wiggly with a device the size of a suicide vest, which is about the size of a Coast Guard approved life vest. Okay. And they could detonate a nuclear weapon and, quote, kill many, many tens of thousands of people. What JD Vance fear-mongered was his own comic book mythology of a nuclear suicide vest. Okay. This is Michael Bay crap. This is Marvel Comics crap. Okay. It just so happens that when I was in the Army, I had a clearance up to and including what? The boom booms. Okay. I had the clearance. I did missions, transports, that sort of thing. So I kind of knew the answer of whether or not JD Vance was telling the truth. I kind of knew that for myself. Okay. Because I understand what we refer to as backpack devices. They're not backpacks. Okay. They're not. that is a misnomer nickname. Okay. And I also know the Honest John rocket program in Europe in the Cold War. Okay. So instead of just relying on my memory, which I'm pretty confident on, I got on the phone to my father-in-law, the Command Sergeant Major, retired Green Beret, who had the same clearance I did. Okay. And it goes all the way up, well above top secret, cosmic animal. In fact, we could be in a room where TSCA people were not allowed. Okay. Never mind looking at a device. You're not allowed to look at the crate. You're not allowed to be in the room so you have a chance to look at the crate. Okay. That's how high above our clearance was above top secret. He, I got on the phone and just talked to him. I go, I think I know the answer, but since you have direct operational experience with these devices in special forces, let's break it down. And he's going, well, one, like I just said, he goes, one, it's not a backpack. The thing's huge. Okay. Think about like when the astronauts go out for the spacewalk and they got that giant backpack on them for their heater, their oxygen, their CO2 scrubber, and everything that's got to be sealed in their spacesuit environment. It's a little bit larger than that. Okay. So backpack, again, total misnomer. It's actually a large device that weighs about 170 pounds. Okay. So when you're practicing, when you're doing the scenario training in the Green Berets, and you put on the device, you have to carry it in a paratrooper sling, because as soon as you get out the door, you need to drop it below you, so it hits the ground first, and then you're tethered to it, so you're going to come down on the ground pretty hard. It's a rough landing, he said, when you're carrying that. And he goes, the damn thing is so heavy, it took 3 people to scoot him toward the door so he could fall out the door. It was so heavy, he couldn't even jump. He just had to lean over and fall. Okay. And he was a big, strong, Green Beret. He could not move the thing on his own. He said it took a 3-man team to move the device. I'm not even going to say what its nomenclature or its code name was, but yes, there was a nomenclature for those. We all knew what it was. So, this whole idea that the Iranians have not been successful developing a deliverable nuclear device. Do they have hundreds of kilograms of processed uranium? Yes, they do. 446 kilograms from my last reading at 60% purity. I think that's nuclear power plant purity. That's not boom boom purity. It's a different mixture of the isotopes too. So it really depends what mixture of the 235 through the 239. Okay. Because you're not just carrying the nuclear core, whether it's an Honest John rocket in the 60s or the misnomer of a backpack or a Trident missile. How a nuclear bomb goes off, they showed this in the movies. In Oppenheimer, it's no secret anymore. It's an implosion. There's a high nitrogen explosive charge that collapses spherically down 360 degrees all through the sphere and comes collapsing down, and that sets off the neutron reactions. And once the neutrons start flying, once you get those active neutrons, they just go out of control, and that's how you get the big mushroom cloud. Nobody, and I mean nobody, not the Germans, not the Italians, not the French, not Scientific American, not Reuters, not anybody I read in the last couple of days since the 26th when he said this stupid shit. I've been looking into it on and off. Nobody is claiming that Iran has a deliverable nuclear device of any means. And usually the first way they get a nuclear device is airdrop. Just like we did at the Trinity test. We basically took a mock-up of what we would drop out of a B-17, and we put it on a steel tower in the middle of the desert, and we ignited it. And scared the shit out of Richard Feynman. Even if, let me back up. Nobody is saying they got a device, but J.D. Vance says not only do they have a device, they've beat the miniaturization to microization at a level well beyond the French or the Americans or the Chinese or the Indians or the Pakistanis or the Russians' capability or the North Koreans. Anybody that's already nuclear armed doesn't have a suicide vest, life preserver side nuclear device. Those don't exist. Again, that's a fairy tale. That's a Marvel comic book. That's a Michael Bay movie. Okay. Now, it doesn't exist. I asked the command sergeant major retired. I said, am I correct in saying there's a 0% chance that sort of device exists? And he says, no, it does not exist. It just does not exist. Okay. Now, if it did exist, JD stupid motherfucker Vance, why the fuck would you be talking about that in public? That's gotta be TSCA level information. You just don't spill out in the middle of a public press conference or a public meeting with cameras there. TSCA, top secret cosmic atom bomb. You have to write your name down before you see the information. That's how classified it is. Date, time, who you are, what you with, what purposes you're looking at this data, blah, 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 blah. My father-in-law had clearances well above TSCA. Well above TSCA. Okay. So why would you be talking about that in public if it was true? Okay. It can't be true by any knowledge with people with the clearances from the military who knew about this stuff. Okay. Not true. You're not taking a 170-pound device that's the size of a mini fridge, at least, and reducing it to 10 or 15 kilos on a vest, on a life preserver sized vest. No. And if it was real, why the fuck are you talking about this in public? Why would you announce to the Iranians, we know what they have for deliverable? Amy says OPSEC means nothing to these people. They don't care. That's exactly because both Command Sergeant Major and I were both NCOs in West Germany in the Cold War. OPSEC is everything. OPSEC is religion in West Germany. You don't talk about fucking Fight Club. Period. End of story. You get caught talking about Fight Club, not only is your security clearance gone, especially at our level, okay, but even if you're just plain TS, you're one step above secret. You're just top secret. You're not top secret CI or CA, none of the special add-ons. Okay, you just have, I can see paperwork that's classified. Okay, you're losing that clearance if you don't adhere to OPSEC. So why the hell would you be talking about this in public? So I can only determine, because is the device real? No. Why did he say it? To fearmonger and lie to the American people. Okay? Because the backpack nuke came out 3 days before they announced what? An increase from $948 billion, just under $1 trillion, to add a 200 billion Iranian supplemental spend on top of that, taking us to over $1.1 trillion. In next year's budget, they now want to allocate at $1.5 trillion, a $600 billion increase over this year. And how are they going to pay for it? Closing your rural hospital, closing your schools, ending cancer research, ending healthcare. MAGA, the nationalists, the shitheads, are maniacal, lion-ass death cult. These are the con artists who took the OG death cult, the weirdo Christians, the far-right Christians, and they took amalgamized Cold War fears, voodoo, weird-ass right-wing Christianity that obviously they've never read the Sermon on the Mount. They don't know what the book of Matthew means at all. And they spend most of the time reading the Old Testament, not realizing that's the Jewish part of the books. So when they do stuff like this, when they come up with a complete fantasy to sell you off the cuff in a cabinet meeting, oh, I'm just going to throw out there some national security information even people with clearances in the military wouldn't need to know unless they needed to know. Because that's another thing about OPSEC. Okay? Even if you have the clearance, if you're not on our mission, you don't have to know what we're doing. Like in my case, the first sergeant would come out and yell at us, a bunch of MPs in the hallway, and go, who's our clearance level? About 8 of us would raise our hands. And you look at everybody else and go, get the fuck out. You guys in my office. Okay, we got something to do. Okay. Did we even tell our unit mates what we did or what we're heading out to do or what we did when we get back? No. No. You didn't have a need to know. So him claiming a technology that literally does not exist. Now, be careful too, because they love lying about things and then changing their lie when they realize their first lie was total bullshit. Okay. A nuclear, meaning a teller weapon, a thermonuclear bomb in a thing of the size of a life preserver is nonsense. Okay. But then they're going to turn around and say, oh, I meant a dirty bomb. A dirty bomb won't kill tens of thousands of people. Okay, that's not how radiation works. Unless you're right there where the radiation is, the chance of you getting radiation sickness is nearly zero. If they detonated it inside of a building, as long as you weren't inside that building, you're probably fine, especially if you do the first rule. Remember, I also worked at a nuclear lab, a nuclear research lab. Okay, what's the first rule of radiation? When you think there's radiation, run! When the cobalt-60 canisters, they literally have metal stamps in there that says C60, drop and run. And if you don't drop and run that canister, you're dead. Okay? But as long as you can run away, you're okay. Like even in the movie Fat Man and Little Boy, when John Cusack plays the scientist who's screwing around with the demon core and he screws up with a screwdriver and they get a blue flash, which means the core is hot now. The flash is Chernoff radiation. It's literally ionizing the nitrogen in the atmosphere and shooting out UV light that we can see. The scientist that was literally right there handling the core, he died from radiation sickness, acute radiation poisoning. Everybody else in the room survived. Okay, it's the square distance rule. Okay. They did all the right things when they had the accident. They told everybody to take off their rings, their belts, their pens, anything metal, immediately drop it on the floor and get the hell out of the room. As long as they did that in a timely fashion, all they had a risk of is a higher chance of cancer later in life. Okay. The guy that was right there within, 36 inches of the core, yeah, he was dead in a couple of days. Okay. And I know, like, this is not a skill set a lot of people have, like nuclear engineering, nuclear science, radioactivity, and stuff like that. But there's a few good resources I wanted to point out to you. One is Kyle Hill, the science communicator over at YouTube, Baby Thor. He's really good. He's got a couple of really good videos. The super good resource for nuclear engineering is T. Fulci on YouTube. He's awesome. He's actually working commercial nuclear engineer that works at a power plant and is involved in everything from setup to runtime to emergency response. He's an excellent source about information if you want to learn a little more. Now, if you want to get deep into the weeds, listen to David Rusick, also known as the Illinois Energy Professor on YouTube. This guy is the key resource. Okay. His PhD is actually in nuclear engineering, but nuclear engineering in like how you build a power plant, how you build nuclear reactors safely. That's basically what his PhD is in. Okay. And he's like literally one of the smartest guys in the country. Okay. So those are three good resources to watch. Okay. And there are a couple of good Trinity test documentaries that are on YouTube on Nebula. Yeah, check those out if you want more information. Just don't believe the hype. Don't believe the lying bastards. Okay, because J.D. Vance is a fear-mongering lying bastard. The only reason he said that was so we would agree on slitting our society's throat, throwing away education, healthcare, arts, research, public safety, public health. They want to deconstruct America based on a set of lies they keep purporting. Okay. Nobody is walking into a Piggly Wiggly and detonating a teller weapon. That's bullshit. Okay, it's a bullshit on multiple levels, including just the physical delivery of the device. You can't walk by yourself with that thing strapped to you. That's exactly what my father-in-law just told me on the phone. He couldn't make it from his seat. He stood up, they strapped it to him, and then they had three men had to go get him by the door and kind of push him out the door so he fell. Okay, once you're on the ground, it takes two other people to even move the damn thing. Some guy's just going to waltz in, grab a shopping basket, and detonate a suicide vest that's a thermonuclear device. Bullshit. J.D. Vance is a lion-ass comic book mythology horseshit-driven asshole. The whole thing was straight out of the McCarthy era. Okay, how big and bold and bombastic can I lie to scare the living shit out of you so I can take advantage of you? That's what it's about. It's nothing about doing anything real. Okay, because if we were really concerned about Iranians infiltrating the United States, Kash Patel would not have fired the Iranian experts out of the CI division at FBI, because he did. If we're really worried about things going on and having our ability to not only defend ourselves but to fight, we wouldn't be firing every general who Hegseth doesn't like because Hegseth isn't feeling that they appreciate his flex enough. Okay. Remember, we have a disgraced major who got kicked out of the National Guard who is trying to be Patton, but he looks like a total asinine moron trying to do it. Okay. And again, I'll say this 100 times. Nobody I know in the military talks like Hegseth. Nobody. My father-in-law, Command Sergeant Major Green Beret, never heard him talk like that at all. The exact opposite. He's calm, he's stoic, he's direct, he's to the point, he's honest, he's clear. Colonel and the family friend, Colonel Green Beret logistics officer, complete stoic. Okay. All the warrant officers I worked with in CID, my regional commander, the lieutenant colonel. I mean, people with great sense of humor are fun to have a beer with, but they don't freak out and start telling fairy tales and lying to you for effect. No. And they're not boundtastic either, like Hegseth is. Hegseth is doing shitty summer stock theater for nationalists. Like, how dumb can I look bullshitting you all and pretending to be, Jesus's chosen boy, Jesus's chosen proud baby. Okay. So I'm going to keep this one short, just so that I want to go on you I well researched this. I talked to some. I have clearance knowledge, and I talked to somebody with operational knowledge. So I can tell you that. Is there a chance of someone walking into a Piggly Wiggly with a nuclear device? That's a 0% chance of that happening. Okay, and I'm 100% sure of it. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the national bullshit. They're lying to you so they can set America up to fail. They are deconstructing America so they can profit. They can gain political power. They can rule above the plebs. And really the lie he told about the Piggly Wiggly, J.D. Vance told about the Piggly Wiggly, that was the cover story for we're losing the Iran war and they know it. Okay, the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Okay, I got the AIS page right here. Trump, while he was speaking, I was looking at the AIS page. Okay, when this was going on, this story was going on, and he said 40 ships right now are moving through the Strait of Hormuz. Not in the normal traffic channel, they weren't. They were going up to that Northern Ireland, paying $2 million to the Iranian. Most of those ships were Chinese dark fleet ships, by the way, paying $2 million and going around the Iranian coast. Okay. So I'm going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you a Michael Bay Hollywood movie plot to cover for the fact we went into Iran with no strategy, no plan, no way out. They just assumed, because Mushroom Dick was in charge, that Iran wouldn't close the Strait of Hormuz. They effectively are the gatekeeper of the Strait of Hormuz right now. Okay, who's benefiting from this? Iran, Russia, and China. That's why J.D. Vance lied to you about the supermarket. Understand why they are lying to you. Because they've lied to all the Christian nationalists. The real mush-minded, crazy fuckers on the far right. Now they're trying to hijack psychologically the rest of us. And I hate to tell J.D. Vance, you're never getting me. I have enough wherewithal not to buy your bullshit. Okay? So this goes back to where we get good information versus bad information. This is bad information. Okay? The good news is this was well covered, and a lot of easily identifiable research points debunked his whole claim quickly. So just use that as a rule of thumb. If anybody in the White House or the cabinet says something bombastic and it sounds like they just read a comic book, they're lying to you. More importantly, always remember why the nationalists are lying to you. That's always something you have to keep in mind. There's a goal to their lie. They have no goal in Iran, no strategy in Iran, but they have a strategy in America. Deconstruct, control, profit. Be careful, America. Shit's getting real. Okay. I'll be back on later. I got another topic. I said last night, I got a whole notepad full of topics. So I'll catch you again. Hey, thanks again for all the likes and subscribes and restacks. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys probably later tonight. Okay. Until next time, please Please, they're fucking with us. So please think about it.